This instructional video is to prepare for the synthesis question of the free response section of the AP Language and Composition exam. Students will read several texts about a topic and create an argument that synthesizes at least 3 of the sources to support their thesis. The synthesis question presents a situation with 2 sides. This question poses the argument whether college is worth the cost or not. You will be asked to read 5 to 6 sources and select at least 3 sources to support your argument. You must synthesize your own idea, not just summarize the sources you've read. Be sure to cite your sources either by the author's last name or by using source A, source B, or source C. Now you have to make a preliminary decision about which side you are on. As you read each document, label which side of the argument it supports and highlight important statements that support or refute your preliminary decision. Remember, you can change your mind as you read the documents and adjust accordingly. And now on to the documents. Once you've decided which side you're on, read through the documents and mark which side each supports. Create a T-chart for pros and cons, and then start reading. I've placed 3 of the sources on this slide so that we can look at them carefully. Take your time and read each source as I bring it up. Pause this video as you have a chance to read and highlight using the packet that I've provided. At the top of each of these sources, you can see source A, source C, and source D. You can cite using those words or by using the author's last name, source A being Crawford, source C being Shearholes, source D being Leonard. Next, we have the T-chart for pros and cons. As we read, source A, you can see that I pulled a clip that I want to use and cite in my essay. I did the same for source C, and I clipped something that I'd like to use to support my argument. I also clipped something from source D to put on the other side of my T-chart to support the opposing view, so I know that that's what I want to refute. What I'd like you to notice about my different sources is how I've tried to look at ethos, pathos, and logos to support my argument. Source A has ethos because it talks about teachers and professionals and how they see college. We see pathos about how students feel, also in source A. And then we see logos in source C, where I give you facts and statistics in my clip. Next, you have to create a thesis or synthesize a position. So how do we synthesize? You look at key common points, ideas, or claims across the sources you've been given. You have to establish a new argument based on the claims presented in the sources. It should be a central idea, it should take a position, and it should be clear. Make sure the common ideas support your new claim. Organize specific material from those sources according to the big ideas that support your new claim. Look at your preliminary thesis and see how it has to be changed or tweaked to suit your essay based on what you've read. You cannot simply say that college is or isn't worth it. You must develop an interesting perspective. Try answering the question, so what? A little hint. A good thesis statement will make a claim, developing an interesting perspective that you can support and defend. This perspective must be more than an observation. America is violent as an observation, but Americans are violent because they are fearful is an argument. When you take a side and you consider the facts that you've been given, and you come to some sort of conclusion, that's when you have a claim. Now for your T-chart. You can determine how each of your examples supports the claim that you have now made. You want to decide what you want to use from each side of that T-chart. Be sure to include that counterclaim as your rater will be looking for it, and make sure that when you include that counterclaim that you refute it in your paragraphs. The next video in this series will be writing the synthesis essay.